Someone said that they can't sit still and silent for meditation. What to do? This is quite common, this resistance to sitting still and staying silent. So what to do? Well, I suggest that you move. See, there's these two options. How you think of meditation is sitting still and being silent. But what if that idea of meditation is just not it? It's just not true. What if you can experience meditation while moving? This is what I call moving into meditation. See, a lot of times our idea of what meditation is creates an obstacle. It's something that we have to force ourselves to do. That I have to conform myself. This is how it is. This is what it looks like. Full lotus position, sitting still, quiet, nothing bothering, and eyes closed. So then we force ourselves into that position, try and make everything quiet, and just about everything happens except for meditation. But what if you can experience meditation while moving? It's a different perspective, something that you probably haven't thought of. In fact, I want to open up the possibility that you are experiencing meditation in your life, but don't even know it. See, a lot of us are actually experiencing meditation in our life, and we don't know it. I actually enjoy this, pointing out the so-called spiritual practice in your life that you are unaware of. Because we have an idea of what the spiritual practice is. But we don't see something like walking in nature as a spiritual practice, cooking, spending time with your kids. We create all these limitations by defining things. This is a spiritual practice, this isn't. This is meditation, this isn't. The ultimate meditation is life. Life is meditation. You are meditation. So if it feels like you have to force yourself to sit still and be silent, and you're noticing there's this aversion to it, there's this resistance to it, I often suggest the path of least resistance. Where is there less resistance? Oh, well, I really like going for a walk in the forest. Okay, do that. I'm really peaceful in the garden. Okay, do that. See, this is actually pointing you to the meditation that is already present in your life. The gardening is your meditation. Cooking dinner is your meditation. Knitting is your meditation. These are just examples. So you see that forcing yourself to sit in some uncomfortable position and stay still, be silent, could be less meditative than gardening or knitting or cooking. So it's always about this path of least resistance. And a simple way is following this aliveness. See how there's an aliveness in knitting, cooking, or gardening, walking in the forest. It's this aliveness that you're following. That you're experiencing. This aliveness is the life that you are. You're experiencing yourself in these so-called non-spiritual activities. These activities are like a pathway to yourself, so to say. It's an opportunity to experience yourself. And this is why you enjoy the gardening so much. This is why you enjoy the cooking so much. This is why you enjoy the knitting so much. It's the joy of experiencing yourself. The experience of yourself is joy. It is happiness. This is that natural pull to those activities. It's the pull of being. That you're just simply being while gardening, or you're just simply being while knitting. You're just simply being while cooking. And if you look at these activities and really explore these activities, you see that actually in the midst of the activity, there's no gardener. There's just gardening. There's no cook. There's just cooking. There's no knitter. There's just knitting. So it's the absence of subject-object experience. That subject-object relationship has dissolved. So there's just simply what is. There's just simply this being, or this isness, or this experiencing. But it's an experiencing without an experiencer. There's no separation. It's in reflecting on these activities you see that there's an experiencer, an experience, and experiencing. But the experiencer and the experience dissolve. And what remains is just pure experiencing. And this is meditation. It's just that we're unaware of it. But there's a deeper meditation while gardening than there is while trying to force yourself in an uncomfortable position and sit still and be silent. So it's as if it's starting with the movement. So I said it's like you're moving into meditation. There's an activity, and then there's just moving into that meditation. And you move into that meditation by doing that activity so fully, so completely, so totally. It's the totality of the activity that is the meditation. And this is why any activity can be meditative. Cooking, knitting, gardening, mopping the floor, taking out the trash. It doesn't matter. You're already getting tastes of that meditation in your life. And some subtle signs, we could say, are when it feels like you were absorbed in the activity. A sense of losing time. Where did the time go? Wow, was I gardening for 3 hours? Felt like 10 minutes. A peacefulness, happiness, freedom, love, an aliveness. Fullness, completeness. Like nothing else matters. It's as if everything disappears and there's just simply what is. There's no referencing past, there's no referencing future. It's just being absorbed totally here now. The totality. No resistance to what is. So you see that if you look at your life objectively, that you're actually experiencing this in certain activities. And it's the activities that you would label, this is my favorite thing to do. I love gardening. You know what I really love doing? Going for walks, long walks in the neighborhood. I love canoeing. I love knitting. I love playing Lego. I love cooking. There's too many activities to name. Because any of these activities can be meditation. Really, meditation is what you are. It's not what you do. But it's just that activity that you're moving into meditation. Like I said, is this activity is like a pathway. It starts off with the activity and then you are experiencing yourself. And the experience of yourself is what we are labeling meditation. Meditation is really experiencing yourself. So you're tasting your true nature in these activities. And it's like a little taste test. That's why you keep coming back. I love gardening. I love cooking. You keep coming back to yourself, so to say, through these pathways. So it's the path of least resistance. There's no discipline needed to garden. There's no discipline needed to cook. There's no discipline needed to knit. Why is this? Well, because there's devotion. This devotion, this love for the activity, the love of cooking, the love of gardening, the love of painting, the love of dancing, whatever the activity be. You see that you don't need to discipline yourself to do it. Why? Well, because you love it. Discipline is like a force. See, it requires discipline to sit still and be silent. And there's nothing wrong with that. If there's a love for sitting still and being silent, then that's just simply what happens. But if it feels like, where the question's coming from, like you have to force yourself to do that, then it's going to feel like there's a lot of discipline that's needed. But I'm giving you a different perspective. That discipline, that force to force yourself to do something. Can you do that? Sure, you can discipline yourself. You can sit in the uncomfortable position. You can force yourself to be still and stay silent. Well, what's the goal of that? Well, it's to experience the stillness and silence, to experience your true nature. What I'm saying is, be open to the possibility that you're already experiencing that stillness and silence in another activity in your life. Can you see that perhaps you're experiencing that stillness and silence while gardening? Again, what gets us tied up is our idea of this stillness and silence. How am I going to experience stillness and silence when I'm outside listening to people cut their grass, the birds chirping, and I'm clearly moving in the garden? This seems like a contradiction. But the stillness and silence is ever present. You can experience stillness and silence in the midst of movement and sound. Oh, so this starts changing your concept of meditation, your idea of it. This is opening up a new possibility. Oh, yeah, I guess that's what I'm kind of tasting in the garden. I'm getting a taste of that stillness and silence. I'm getting a taste of that peace in the garden. Like I said, you're moving into meditation. And you see that gardening or the cooking or the knitting, you don't need to discipline yourself. There's already a love for it. When there's devotion, no discipline is needed. Discipline is like a force. You have to force yourself. You have to push yourself to do it. But devotion is like you're being pulled. It's like gardening's calling you. It's not really gardening that's calling you. It's your true nature. that's calling you through gardening. It's your true nature that's calling you through cooking. It's your true nature that's calling you through dancing. That's why you love these activities, is because it's actually a love for yourself. It's a love for your true nature. It appears like there's a devotion to gardening or knitting or cooking. How people say the love of painting, the love of knitting, the love of gardening. It's really the love of yourself. It's just that you're experiencing yourself through that activity, sort of say. It starts with that activity. But ends with you. So like this, these activities, these mundane activities that would be described as non-spiritual are actually your spiritual practice, sort of say. But look how effortless it is, which is another sign that these activities that you love, they're so effortless. They're so natural. It's a natural pathway. That's what I'm saying is, if it feels like you have to break your knees and your back to sit in some position, and you just don't like that, force yourself to sit still and be silent. And that's just not for you. This kind of feeling like, that's not for me. What I'm saying is, perhaps you're actually experiencing a deeper meditation in some of these activities, or this one activity in your life that you really love, than any formal meditation could ever be for you. Perhaps you're like a meditation master in the garden, but you've never sat cross-legged with your eyes closed. This is very much for myself. I've never sat in a formal meditation with eyes closed, sitting like that. But simple activities, making tea, making coffee in the morning, showering, brushing your teeth, all of this is meditation. Going for a run, going for a walk, canoeing, dancing. These can all be forms of meditation. Again, we have this idea that meditation looks like this and this only. And we ignore the possibility that, well, it can look like anything. So why limit it? Because any definition is a limitation. A definition is like a box that we're putting around it. We're defining what meditation is. So then we put a box around it. To define is to confine. We're imprisoning ourselves to our own ideas. Meditation looks like this and this only. Well, now you've limited all other possibilities. Why can't meditation be a canoe trip in nature? Paddling, listening to each paddle, each stroke, the water dripping off the end of the paddle, the sound of the ducks, the birds, the wind, the canoe moving through the water. So present, so alive, so full, so total. And in that experience, there's no canoeer. There's just canoeing. And that's saying too much. There's no thoughts about canoeing. There's nothing that's separate. There's just this isness. There's nothing that's even at a distance. There's no division. Well, right there, that's meditation. We're in the garden. There's just feeling the dirt, the mud, and the texture of the soil, and as you're digging, the coolness of the soil, the feet in the ground, the squatting down position, the legs, feeling the breeze go through your hair, hearing the birds in the background, feeling the warmth of the sun on your back, feeling the sweat drip down your face, smelling the flowers. It's so rich. It's so complete. There's peace. There's happiness. There's freedom. There's love. But there's no separate experiencer that's experiencing that. There's nothing that's apart from that. So that right there, that's meditation. So if you have a look, you're probably already experiencing meditation. So is there a need to force yourself to sit still? Stay silent? Is there a need to do something that feels so unnatural? And feel like it's going to take effort? Bend your legs and get into this position? Or does moving feel natural? Because if so, then just follow that natural movement. Follow that natural movement, because that natural movement will lead you to its source. The source of movement is stillness. That's where you're moving into. It starts with the movement, and you move into that stillness. All movement starts and ends with stillness. And that stillness is ever present, even in the midst of movement. It's not one or the other. It's not this or that. It's this and that. They're not opposites. They are one. And in experiencing that movement fully, you will experience the stillness. It's about totality. Any movement that's done totally, you will be experiencing yourself. So if it doesn't feel natural, if it feels like you're forcing yourself, it feels like it needs a lot of effort to sit still, twist yourself in some sort of formal meditation position, then that's okay. It's not for you. Everyone's path is unique. And your path is your life. So have a look. There's already a pathway. You just might not know it. But hopefully this video has made that pathway more visible, more clear. So that you're able to see something that was always here. But see it in a new light. Hopefully this helps. See you in the next one.